welcome to Coverstory. Today we have with us Mr. Anand Sharma, Deputy Leader of Opposition in the Rajya Sabha. He is also a former Union Minister and also he is a man of the moment, for he is, as you know, part of the 4-member committee that is deputed to work out problems in the GST between the Congress and the government. Welcome to NewsX, Mr. Sharma, you've been given a very onerous task of, the whole GST now depends on you. So tell us what is...
I don't think it depends on me.
Well, you are one of the 4 people it depends on.
No, there's an ongoing interaction between the government and the principal opposition party. And yesterday, for the first time, after 18 months, the Prime Minister did reach out to the opposition, which should have happened much earlier, by meeting with the Congress President, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, and Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. And it has been agreed that the government will reflect on what the Congress President and former Prime Minister have conveyed. And we will also have our internal deliberations, and then we will talk to each other. Because there are certain fundamental issues or concerns.
Can you elaborate the 3 main sticking points that the Congress has with the GST proposed by the government?
First of all, let's be very clear that Indian National Congress is the author of the GST Bill. We have been its proponents.
So why we are wondering why you are objecting?
No, that's what we will explain. We are in favor of it, and the country will eventually have a GST. But we want a GST which actually reinvigorates India's economy, which is in the interest of the people in the country, which is effective. And what is, after all, the purpose of the GST is to create effectively a common market and to bring down the burden both on the producer, the industry, and the consumer by having a uniform revenue neutral rate for the GST. Having said that, this has been a work which has been there for many years, and for more than 3 years this was pending before the Parliament. It has been through the standing committee during our time, but unfortunately neither Pranabji nor his successor P. Chidambaram were able to pilot it through. So that is the unfortunate part, because there was opposition, very strong opposition from the then principal opposition party, the BJP. Now we know the merits of the GST, but what has happened in the hurry to get the GST, this government has made certain compromises. And our 3 major concerns are, one is the 1% additional levy, the surcharge. That's the transaction tax, what they said. For the manufacturing states. Now manufacturing states, even if they lose, because it's a destination based tax, but when there is a revenue neutral rate, that is what is going to be there. And also all states which suffer loss of revenue will be fully compensated. Right. So there is no reason that why we should add this 1% surcharge, which actually will work out to be much more than 1%, because interstate transactions will get taxed, and this will have a cascading effect. Second, there is no clarity as of today as to what would be the threshold, the benchmark. That's why the need to cap, and that cap is a must. Cap which can be, which has been legally ring fenced. Otherwise, through an executive decision, that cap can be tinkered with any time. Not once, but many times within a month or in a year.
So this legally is that you're saying it should be part of a constitutional amendment. That's the other sticking point.
That is the proposal. The government will reflect on it, and they will, I'm sure, come back to us. And we will also have our internal deliberations in the light of what was discussed last evening. And the third is the dispute redressal mechanism. Now the GST Council is the present body. Earlier the bill which UPA had brought, that had the GST not council in taking the dispute redressal role, but there was an appellate body. A mechanism was put in place in the proposed bill. That has been removed by this government. Now you cannot have the GST Council sitting in appeal or judgment over its own decisions. You cannot have a.
The government's point of view is, why bring the judiciary into, the interfering in everything? Why are we handing this to them on a platter?
No, it's not a question of judiciary. As per the constitution of the country, if there is a interstate dispute between two states or more than two states, which is not resolved, then the Supreme Court steps in. That is happening. Now we have to create, we are talking of a mechanism, a workable mechanism. Because GST Council, if there is a, say, a standoff within or a dispute within the GST Council, then who will resolve it? So you cannot leave this vague. We have to settle it, because this constitutional amendment, which will be a prerequisite for the GST law to be enacted, will have far-reaching implications. You're talking of a paradigm shift for the first time since India's independence when it comes to taxation or indirect taxation, and also the sharing of it, the pooling and the sharing between the center and the states.
But is the Congress very adamant on this constitutional amendment part also? Because that means you're freezing the GST, say, at 18 or whatever it is. To change it, you need to again have 2/3 of the House.
Let the government tell us that how will they legally protect or ring fence it. And we will talk. That's what we have said, that we will also deliberate again.
Correct.
And let them also deliberate. But I want to make one thing clear, Priya, and that the government must understand. The Congress party has not raised these three demands out of any partisan politics. The considerations are not political. The considerations are national and what will best serve the interest of Indian economy. And that's very clear, because we are not raising frivolous issues. These are very basic issues.
But these are issues you brought to the table much later. They weren't part of Chidambaram or Pranab Mukherjee's
No, we had the
draft.
dispute redressal mechanism. We didn't talk of that 1% surcharge. So let's be very clear on that.
But the 18% cap?
Well, that's true, but you see, this bill is now 5 years old. The intervening period, there are lessons learnt.
Fair enough.
Much has changed. If we are saying that we did not put that in, the cap, when we tabled the bill, fine, it's a valid point. But it doesn't mean that you cannot have a rethink. Why I'm saying so? That the present government, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Finance Minister, they are the ones who were vehemently opposed to the GST bill. Leading the charge during all these years was Shri Narendra Modi as the Gujarat Chief Minister. Now he's the Prime Minister and he sees the merit of it. So it's not that we are thinking of cap. In their case, it's a complete somersault, and we don't find it something unhealthy. That's what we were trying to tell them all those years.
The tables have turned on a lot of issues. Things that you were proposing, now you're opposing. Things they
No, we are not
opposed,
opposing.
now
I'm
they
making
are
it
proposing.
fundamentally clear. We are definitely not opposing.
All right.
Take the case of insurance bill.
FDI, right?
FDI insurance was pending for 7 years in Parliament.
With your
Because
government.
when we proposed it, BJP opposed it. But when they became the government and we are the opposition, it was we. The credit goes to the Indian National Congress. Without us, it would not have gone through in the Rajya Sabha, but we ensured its passage. So we have been positive in our approach. We have not been partisan. Again, the land boundary agreement with Bangladesh, the Coal Act, the Mine Act, all that became a reality because of us. But we have not been given our due share of credit because the government was working overtime just to belittle, humiliate, berate the Indian National Congress, its leadership and the opposition. And that has been a very negative development when it comes to the functioning of the parliamentary democracy.
This atmosphere, I mean, let's not go into the history of it, but what's happening now, the Prime Minister's outreach to the Congress President, to the former Prime Minister, how do you see that? Do you see a shift in the attitude towards you? Are you
The
welcoming?
attitude should not have been what it was earlier, hostile, confrontationist and insulting. If there is a
It's always been
course
personal
correction,
between this Prime Minister and the Congress, way back
it's
since
not.
2002.
That's a separate issue. But
That's a
once he
separate
became
issue.
the Prime Minister, it was his responsibility. And unfortunately, he carried the mindset of an election campaign for far too long in the country, which reflected very poorly on the governance and also abroad on foreign soil.
by attacking you on foreign soil.
Yes, that's what he was belittling this country's achievements on foreign soil. That before him nothing had happened. Now let's see that what healthy change.
Because
We'll
from
welcome if there is a sincere change of heart and a realization that there is need, which Congress party believes, that there is need of a healthy dialogue between the government and the opposition. We also believe, and it's our conviction, that there is a need for a constructive engagement between the ruling dispensation and the opposition when it comes to issues of national importance or when it comes to critical national challenges.
which brings me to, you have in fact given a notice for suspension of business rules for, I think, for Tuesday. And if I can
We
quote,
may have to shift it now because Tuesday there will be a spillover of the discussion on constitution in our house.
okay, for the coming week. But your notice, I may read it to you. It says this House expresses serious concern over the orchestrated campaign to create an atmosphere of fear and intimidation.
True.
You have not used the word intolerance.
No.
But this is of course hinting at that debate, because it says it condemns the assault on the freedom of expression, creative writing, expression of dissent on issues.
Yes, this means basically the same, that you are not accepting or tolerant of dissent or a divergent viewpoint. That's exactly what's happening in India. It's not a question, you don't count the number of instances. Now, unfortunately, the government has not been responsive or receptive to the concerns. Now, these are people, many of these eminent Indians, who have protested or complained, whether they are thinkers, historians, creative writers, scientists, filmmakers. These, all of them have made their notable contributions. They don't belong to the Indian National Congress. Majority of them have attacked the Congress, its leaders.
Leading with Priya Sahgal, who
Yes,
opposed the emergency.
They all have. But it doesn't mean that we held it against them or we said that it was a manufactured thing.
Why
now,
they are
this
saying
government has said it's a manufactured thing. That is an ultimate insult to these men and women who deserve respect and who have a right to be heard in a democratic country.
Well, we need to take a short break, but don't go away, because I'm going to come back and continue this conversation with Congress leader Anand Sharma. Welcome back to Cover Story. We are in discussion with Anand Sharma, the Congress leader, who, as you know, is one of the 4 key members of the committee that is going to be drafting out all the differences in the GST. They all are pointing out to the fact that all this led up during the Bihar election. Ab kya ho raha hai?
No, it has been
Election
happening.
is over.
No, it has been happening for long.
It coincided with that,
No,
October.
it has been happening for months.
You can say it was a reaction to Dadri, but it happened
No,
in
no,
October.
it has been happening well
and
before.
now it's not happening.
No, it has been happening well before. Let me take you back.
All right.
When did it start with Amartya Sen? When did Shiv
Amartya Sen versus Bhagwati was one debate.
What about Shiv Gaonkar, who was the head of IIT Delhi? Now, there is a long list of people who protested or people who were insulted by this government. Many of the scientists. What happened about Dr. Anil Kakotkar? So, I can give you a long list. It happened months and months ago. It started soon after this government's assumption of office in 2014 itself. But it has been building up. You don't look at it from the timing of an election. I don't think anybody had that in mind. That would be...
But maybe it worked out that way, because election ho gaya.
No, it started in 2014.
Murmurs have quietened down.
No, it's not quietened down. People are still... the other day, Mahapatra, that was just 2 days ago, a very famous author writer from Orissa, returned his Padma Awards.
Yes.
So the Bihar election is long over.
Right.
So it would be unfair, actually, because we have to, as a country, as a system, we have to hear what they are saying. You may not agree, but there is need for, in a democracy, for a government to hear the citizens and reassure them that that the government will uphold the constitution in letter and spirit and take action against those who are behind these organized outfits and the campaigns which they are undertaking. Now, you cannot have, in a democratic India, people being told what to write, what kind of film you will make, what you will eat in your kitchen, what kind of clothes you will have,
And
what
how
are the
long
kind
will
of
you kiss on
people.
screen?
Now this is going too far. It is ludicrous. You can't take India, 21st century India, back to the medieval times. Now, and that's for the Prime Minister also to think.
But were
Here you
you-
have a Prime Minister who said that Indians knew about plastic surgery long back, and actually if anybody else had said it, the BJP and the Bajrang Dal and the RSS would have pounced on the person. That Lord Ganesha was the creation of plastic surgery, that you had such good plastic surgeons that they connected an elephant's head. This is what Prime Minister said. I'm not saying
Right.
it. Then you are giving one cabinet minister giving precisely the birthday and the time and the Janam Kundali of Lord Ram. Then you have another one who is saying that we manufactured planes, India used to, in thousands of years ago. Then Prime Minister again is on record that Karna was born because we were so advanced in stem cell. Now, what is happening to us? A country which is a nuclear power, a country which is a space power, you have the best scientists, you have reached moon, you have reached Mars, and here this is happening. So it's a very painful contradiction, and it is, I think, important that this is discussed and there is a course correction. And people are reassured, especially the younger generation.
You know, speaking about reassurances, what about the Prime Minister's speech in the Lok Sabha on the Constitution debate? He did come across, gave a reassuring image. He was less aggressive, less combative. He said, "It's not hum or tum, it's us."
Shall I take your mind back?
Sehmati nahi bahumati.
Fine, but please go back to what Prime Minister said on the 11th of June last year, the motion of thanks on the President's address. I recall very clearly that he said that the government and the opposition have to work together. He said that sabka saath, he believes in that. When we had this, one of his minister using that foul word on that Ramzade and Haramzade, these are the words used, and there was objection and the parliament actually was stalled, and Prime Minister came and gave an assurance. And again then he talked of the Constitution being the only holy book.
Correct.
He said that, but he has not taken action subsequently. He said that he has given a stern warning. But after that was almost a year ago, but what has happened between then and now? So he has repeated. And if you look at his idea of India, when you talk of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, when we talk of Nari Narayani, when you talk of Sarve Sukhantu Bhavana, all these things, what he quoted from our ancient knowledge and wisdom, he has said it even during the election campaign. I think he just took out pages of what he had said. Now, saying is not enough. It's the deed, it's the action. There's a huge gap between what he says and what is happening. That is a matter of
But today
concern.
he gave a reassuring message. Evening he called the people, called the Sonia Gandhi and Manmohan Singh for tea. So there seems to be some consistency in
No,
his
he is not
actions.
obliging. If he is seeking to do a course correction, it would be a welcome development. But it's too early in the day, because his government has been selectively targeting the opposition. As I've said, that there's not even a single day the Prime Minister and his colleagues wake up in the morning and 24/7 they curse, they abuse, even during this discussion on the Constitution. That's exactly what they have been doing. So I do not know. We have never used such words. We won't use bad words, because he has to keep the dignity of his office and the institution of the Prime Minister. We respect that institution because he's the Prime Minister of the country. He may belong to one political outfit. He may have been RSS Pracharak, but now he's India's Prime Minister.
You know, Prime Minister has he's reached out, he said something, but one person who is stringently not reaching out is Rahul Gandhi. He even said that pressure की वजह से बात कर रहे हैं, and the fact that
That is
Sonia,
true.
Mrs. Gandhi
That
said,
is
I will
true.
take the whatever has been said back to Rahul. So now is Rahul the
I
deciding
don't
force
think so.
in the
That what
Congress?
she said. She said, "I'll take it back to my party."
Okay,
That is not correct.
but party is also the one person.
No, no, that's not correct.
Why did
all
Rahul
these,
go?
all
He was
these
not
issues
invited.
are, that's for the Prime Minister to say. Whether he rang him up or not, to the best of my knowledge, no. I don't think Mr. Rahul Gandhi would have said no to that. But at the same time, because let's recall correctly that in Bangalore when Rahul Gandhi went, he said that this government is not talking to us. He has been speaking about conversation, that this government and the BJP, they do not believe in conversation means a dialogue.
Right.
So he said that they have to reach out to us. So how can he be averse to this initiative? Certainly not. But at the same time, it takes two to
Clap. But final last question. On the GST, are there any non-negotiables for the Congress? And
we don't use the word non-negotiable, but I think that what we have said is very legitimate. It has merit. It has the force of logic. And the government, as I said, that we have not raised these issues because of any partisan consideration. Therefore, the government should sincerely engage and resolve it.
you know, the government feels that while Sonia and Manmohan may be keen, Rahul is holding them back.
No, that's not. That's unfair. That's unfair comment. We take a collective view. To blame Sonia Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi may not be correct at all. We are a big political party. We may be the opposition, but we are still a very old political party of this country.
Okay.
So these are deliberated upon by a strategy group. I
And
can
you will be
assure
meeting
you.
soon?
Yes, the strategy group will meet. No date has been fixed. Once we have deliberated and the government has had its internal deliberations, then the two sides will re-engage with each other. I am sure, because that yesterday's meeting was not the first and the last one. I hope that we will continue to have this constructive engagement.
Okay.
Our advice to the government is, when we are doing something so important, which will have long-lasting impact, we must ensure that it is done correctly. As I said, that we give to our people a competitive, comprehensive common market and GST which meets the best global benchmarks.
Okay.
So there is no need to rush. You know, you don't become desperate and try to push things
Just to meet a year-end deadline.
No, you don't fix deadlines on these issues.
Okay. On
Because India's economy did not freeze for so many years when GST didn't happen. Let's have some patience and do it correctly.
Okay, on that note, I'm afraid we'll have to end. But thank you so much for talking to us, and thank you for watching this edition of Cover Story. We'll see you again same time next week.